As a matter of fact, agriculture is key. It is central to our economy. We can do nothing without it. Food production is critical and it depends heavily on what? Our soil. And the ability for our soils to also be fertile and give us more produce is also important for us. Please, can you move to the next slide? Because we've already uh, gone through our title, which is a novel formulation of what? Organic fertilizer and substrate. So we are here to just present a brief evidence, and this is going to be the outline. Please, let's move to the next. Yes, so as I was saying, food production is central to our living, and we all know that the population is increasing. When it comes to Africa, about 80% depends on what? Agriculture for survival. Quality of soil is key. I've mentioned that. And the most important thing why we are even here is the fact that we are thinking of what? Transitioning into a circular economy. And this tells us that if we are going to do so and be successful in that, we are not going to touch virgin raw materials, but we are going to depend on what? Waste. And we've also learned that when it comes to agriculture, about 998 million tons of waste are generated from agriculture alone. I'm sure that when you were coming, when you were driving, you might have seen some dried maize plantations or farms. The farmer had finished harvesting. What remains are what? The stem, the dried leaves, and all of that. What happens to it? They are going to burn it, going to what? Increase carbon production into the atmosphere, and climate change would also what? Continue. So if there are innovative ways to turn these materials, investigating the nutrient component of the organic matter for its potential for fertilizer and then substrate. And we know substrate mostly used under what? Greenhouse conditions. And that is also another gap in our agricultural system. And we conducted this study in the Ilokrobo municipality, so many where our university is. And of course, we have to start from home, right? So we decided to start from home and then try to find out within our environment the kinds of what products or agricultural activities that goes on and the availability for what these raw materials. So we did the study then. And for our materials, like I mentioned, we use for organic products. We have the corn stover, that's the leaves, and then the stem, we have the oil palm meso cup, and then the coconut husk. So we mill them separately, and then a combination, about 200 grams of each was also what? Mixed. So that is our products, our proposed products. That is the cloves mixture, the name we have given to the product. And we tested this product for nitrogen, we tested for phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, sulfur, zinc, iron, copper, manganese, the organic carbon, and organic matter, right? And we all know that per WHO statistics, these ingredients are good. If you have them within the right proportion, they are good for our soil to be what? To be fertile. I will leave Dr. Aqua to continue with the rest of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatima. And good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, like she ended it, to be able to produce or to ascertain that these materials have the nutrient levels, we need to take them to the lab. And so we did lab analysis, the nitrogen, percentage nitrogen, through cadal digestion, distillation and titration, total carbon, organic matter, bioactive black. These are universally accepted methods used to test soils, plants, and even water. So we did a wet digestion for the elemental analysis on phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and the micronutrients. That is copper, iron, manganese, and zinc. And then there is a popular method called vanadium molybdate for phosphorus. That is what we used to test for the phosphorus. Potassium and sodium by flame photometry, as well as the EDTA. EDTA is a ethylene diaminotetracetic acid. It's a long name, but its short form is EDTA. Is by titrometric method, and then the micronutrients by AAS. AAS is atomic absorption spectrometer. So when we took them to the lab, this was the outcome. And like we were saying, we don't produce fertilizers in Ghana. We have 6 companies which normally import fertilizers into Ghana, bulk fertilizers, so we call it. And even after the importation, they have to do what we call blending to suit what we need on the field. As at last year, Ghana imported around 600 and almost 620,000 tons of cement, sorry, fertilizer into the country. I think this is a huge market. Unfortunately, we have only 3 minor companies which produce organic manure, plant growth. For instance, nitrogen, 0.7. For a plant to grow well, we need just about 0.1% or to 0.35%. Or say 0.1%. That means if you take 100 grams of, of maybe corn stover, for instance, because we use corn stover and corn leaves, coconut husk, as well as oil palm fiber. What even surprised me most was the oil palm fiber, because I thought there was nothing in it. But after analysis, and I checked on the internet, and all these things were in line with what the few literature that we have on the internet. So oil palm fiber, it means that the palm tree is a very essential tree. We don't throw anything of it away, but we are throwing them away. And so this calls for a more intensified research. This is just the basic, this is just the background, because we want to get an idea of whether the wastes, because some of the corn over the corn leaves, we pick them from a farm which were just about to be bent. Yes, we just entered the farm which has just harvested those maize, and we pick them. The coconut has a dump which normally they burn, and all this generate environmental pollution as well as carbon dioxide, whatever. So we also went to take what do we call it? This one, they were unfortunately we weren't getting it. Somebody gave it to us from her kitchen, oil palm fiber, because normally our women use it in the rural areas. They use it to fire their coal pots and the rest. So it was hard to come by. And Somaya is becoming an urban center. So somebody offered to give it to us. But the rest, they are abundant in our communities, our farms, wherever. So all that we are saying is that based on this result from the lab, we are sure that there's something good in there, that when we take it up, we can end up getting something good for the Ghanaian market. Can we have a look at the so the tested for organic materials have properties similar to the nutrients required for plant growth. The NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium contents of the 4 organic materials were very good enough to enhance soil fertility. And let me say this thing here. Maybe I didn't talk about the organic matter. If you look at, please go back to the results table. You look at the organic matter content, the organic matter and the organic carbon. You look at it, and they are very, very good. And you know, all the nutrients are stored in the organic matter. Every nutrient is stored. So when you have high levels of organic matter, what it means is that certainly you have other nutrients in there. So this is a justification. So all that we are saying, please go to the clubs, which is an acronym from coconut husk, corn leaves, oil, palm fiber, and then corn stem. We coined the term or this word from the materials. Has similar, because you realize that if you look at the table, you realize that the values for this all fall within the four materials tested. And so the four organic materials contain enough nutrients for the plant growth. And cloves mixture, please go to the last part one. Also contains adequate, like we have said already, adequate nutrients for soil to support plant growth. And the recommendation we are taking here is that application of these organic materials to soils will enhance our agricultural practices and lessen our dependence on mineral fertilizers, because every farmer knows that the mineral fertilizers are not helping our soils. It is rather decreasing the soil health. And when that happens too, it is affecting our agricultural yields. Therefore, we need further studies to come up with the formulation. Yes, we will need a lab test. That one we cannot do without it. But based on what we have now, we are sure that something is there for us to focus on and to continue with the research proper. We will test the use of these organic materials for there is always also the opportunity of looking for other materials, because we have a lot in our environment. I heard during the discussion one participant saying, one contributor saying, the banana leaves or banana whatever. All these things are waste which we can convert to manure and then organic fertilizer to help our agricultural practices.
So the little I can add is that we are yet to test this on the field. What we have is in books, I mean, from the lab. The result, these are signs telling us that there is potential. So we are now going to what? Apply it to the soil, test the soil itself, apply it to it, and grow some plant to see the effect on the crops. Right. Thank you very much.
And to add to what she said, we are going to do it. It's going to be crop specific. Crop specific. So that will tell us this is good for these crops. This is good, because even the fertilizers, you have NPK 2020, NPK 1010, NPK 1510, and all those kind of things. When you go to the cocoa industry, they have their specific fertilizers. So the fertilizer companies will just import the bulk, blend it to suit.
Madam Moderator, we are done.
I guess Dr. Fatima and Dr. Aqua really took their time to do this research, because I didn't see any hands up for questions. Okay. For Vabu.
First, make the members of the team, please. It's very important. We did a presentation, but there are other researchers on board. Professor Amwa is there, as part of the team. We have Dr. Amfotu, we have Dr. Wedema, Michael Tufor, Dr. Michael Tufor is also on board. Man is in somewhere. Yeah, I think for now. Thank you.
Okay. May I go on?
We are ready for your question.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, bro.
It's not easy to do this sort of experiment. It may have cost you a fortune to do the analysis. Can you share that with us?
Thank you very much. I'm a laboratory technician by training, and so we paid for the lab costs, which was around 300, 400. Yeah, but we contributed.
Or the view, I think Anova will be appropriate for what you have there.
All right.
But where you have so many people doing this thing, if you are going to publish, you're going to add all their names, what would be their contributions to that people?
Dr. Fatima, will you answer that question?
Everyone in the team contributed. You know, when writing a paper, we begin with coming out with the problem itself, identifying the gaps in the literature. So all members on the team, one way or the other, made contribution to that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatima and Dr. Aqua. I noticed that the whole idea or the focal point of the whole project and start running with it. My second suggestion will also be that I realized you were focusing only on metals that have some potential, maybe nutrient effects in human bodies. What about the metals that have potential toxic effects? Because those are our concerns, especially when we are dealing with compost. These metals, even in small concentrations, can do what we call bioaccumulation in human beings. Have you considered the toxic heavy metals in your compost, which have the potential to go through the food chain when we are going to adopt your compost that you are preparing? Thank you.
Thank you for the. You said suggestion, but it has turned out to be a question. So the first suggestion, thank you very much. There are yes. No, can you let's hear from the horse's own mouth.
Second leg of our work. So initially, I want to look at the nutrient potential. So once we are firm with the nutrient potential, we'll look at the heavy metal load from the materials we are combining to produce the fertilizer. So we'll look at that. Now we are sure that if we do this combination, we are going to get compost with good macro.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, you talking about heavy metals. I heard that from your supporting partner. And I think that should not be the issue now. It was mentioned that the results were compared with other works that have been done, and they are within the range. So that one for me is okay. And let's not scare ourselves by talking about how do you call heavy metals, because these are micronutrients, actually micronutrients. They are required in minute quantities, right? So if they are within the accepted range, in fact, where probably Dr. Abbas is coming from, if we are going to go by that, probably we'll go around testing all the palm oil that we are consuming to ascertain these levels. My suggestion would be that you go around the field, you say you're working within the Kubo area. So you go around the field and collect the sample.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty much aware that you've been exhausted, but this exercise is one of the most important among all the presentation you have already witnessed, because I have taken my time to capture everything that the various speakers have already spoken about. So I'll take you through it. And then after that, if there are some input or if I've left any significant issue out, then you can draw my attention and then I'll get it captured. So please, this is the tutorial section of all the presentation we've had. Thank you. My outline is very straightforward, at least by the close of today. Even those of you who are not in the area of circular economy should have or should know the meaning of circular economy. And then some key things that you should look out for whenever the word circular is mentioned or circular economy is talked about. Sorry. Please give me a short time. I'm reading a wrong file. Sorry. I summarized the slide, so I have to get it right. Thank you. Then, so when we talk about circular economy, in simple terms, we are trying to say that it's an economic system. Yeah, that is based on business models of replacing the end of use, end of life concept with reducing and alternatively reusing, recycling, and recovering material in the production and distribution, as well as consumption processes. That's operating it could be at the micro level, the meso level, and then the macro level as well, with the aim of accomplishing sustainable development. So that was why my opening question was so loud, because the idea of circular is to ensure sustainability. So in essence, circular economy aim to promote three important aspects of our life. And these are environmental quality, economic prosperity, and social equity. But if you look at all the discussion we've had so far, you could attest that we are talking about economic prosperity and environmental quality. Even though issue of social equity and child labor has been spoken, but we still haven't identified a space within the circular economy field to situate where we can really achieve the social equity, which is one of the most important things that we need to focus on as we work towards sustainable development. Please, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, from the various presentations, the following has been identified as external drivers. In fact, there are drivers of circular economy, and then I have categorized them into internal and external, because some of them are at macro level and some of them are at the individual level. So at the macro level or at the external, as part of the external drivers, we need a consistent policy and measures as part of the procedure. The speaker spoke a lot about regulations. That is what I mean by policies and measures. There must also be taxes, issues, levies, and charges. Those organizations that comply with the circular modality should be given some kind of tax leverage and then tax holiday, among other incentives. And those who pollute more should pay more. So that's where the tax and the levy issue comes in. And then there must also be a regulation to enforce these policies and then levies. I wouldn't be able to mention everything because I have only a limited time. The slides will be available. You can pick them anytime you want. Let me move to the internal drivers. With the internal drivers too, we have corporate responsibility as one of the drivers. Because most organizations feel that it is part of their corporate social responsibility to ensure that they move towards what is considered safer and then widely accepted practice. And then another driver is the cost savings and cost avoidance aspects. Because the resource is being put into reuse and recycle, it has a cost reduction and cost avoidance components. And then we can also talk about stakeholders pressure that also come from consumers and then other activists who fight for the right of consumer and ensure that the circular product are being produced or there is a circular product and services in the industry. So it also, the level of competition in the industry also foster um, the drive for circular economy. And then our own attitude, the attitude we also show towards a particular thing. Dr. Nwanza Kube spoke a lot about our attitude in the morning. So please move to the next slide. When it comes to the web of constraints or the barriers to implementation, there are so many of them. We have the government issues relating to policy and then government lackadaisical attitude towards ensuring that we have Ghana is on course because as it stand now, the framework for circular economy implementation has not been decentralized to um, most of these the other institutions, and then we in academia we've no chance on any policy document with respect to that, and it is one of the way that we feel that because the government himself, who is the chief commander of the Ghana Armed Force, and he is the main CEO of the Ghanaian economy, he has not taken any bold step. It makes it very difficult for individuals and business enterprise to also adapt. Although some kind of frameworks has been provided by the European Union, and then the Canada government has also provided some form of assistance and roadmaps. But as a country, we currently don't have any workable policy on circular economy. Please move to the next slide. This might not be very clear, but it is very important. You know, because we don't have a policy, so we don't even know the indicators. But we're supposed to have an indicator. Then the indicators will help us to know whether we are really on track or we are not in track, or to determine that what we need to do in order to be considered a circular, what do you need to do for your product or your activities to be considered circular? Or how do we measure your business or your assess your company as being circular oriented or not non-circular? So there are number of them, like percentage of circular businesses that you produce or you manufacture, or as a country, the number of circular businesses we have, the circular jobs we produce, the number of shares that a share of sorry, I am not able to see the some of the drawings are not clear. And then the CO emission per capita, and then the amount of renewable electricity available per each household. There are a number of indicators that we need to know. Due to the lack of policy framework, all of these have not been highlighted. Please move to the next slide for me. Yeah, this is one of the things that we've been talking about. You know, for us to have a very desirable, sustainable development, you see the intersection of all the three, what we call the durable. The durable section is where we're supposed to be. So if the economy overly concentrates on the ecological aspect of it, you can realize that the economic aspect and then the social aspect will be left out, and that will not either be livable, viable, or durable. However, if you're able to work within the ecological and social as well as economics, we have the durable. But currently, with all the discussion that we've had today, we are at the viable stage because we've been able to link the prospect of the circular economy on economic gain, but we are not able to link the two with the social that would take us to the desirable stage. So as it stands now, we are at the viable stage, and um, the durable stage is the ideal place we're supposed to be is still lacking. So this is one of the gap that we need to look out for policy intervention to ensure that we incorporate social dimension into the circular. Please move to the next slide for me. Yeah, these are specific contributions from um, all of you here, from all the attendees. The keynote speaker make it clear. She made it clear that leadership is very key in circular economy implementation. So this is one of the issues that is emerging. So leadership is one. Then another contributor also indicated that there must be or there should be a deliberate policy on circular economy in Ghana to provide the frameworks and then objectives for Ghanaians. Then Prof. Amwa made it clear that there should be founding opportunities for research, because there are a lot of potential research areas in this area that need to be explored. Then there was also a contribution that centered on the need to assess, design, and develop and deliver institutional capacity building on mainstreaming circular economy in the area of the municipal and the metropolitan, municipal, and the district assemblies activities, that they need to resource them and then ensure they are committed into ensuring that the right thing is done. Please, to the next slide. Yeah. Um, there was also a contribution from one of the floor members who said that we should also ensure a smooth transition from the old value chain to the new, to the circular economy system. The point the person was trying to emphasize was the fact that we shouldn't force the implementation of the circular economy, that the transition should be um, uh, uh, it should be done with circumspect, so that at the end of the day, it is not going to be like a cultural shock or a cultural lag. We should just try and ensure that we've been here for 10 years, for 20 years, and we want to move here. We should then ensure that the value chain system has been well integrated into the new system before we finally take a move. So that was it. There was a contribution also coming from the need for stakeholders engagement or participation, where we need to bring on board opinion leaders like the churches, the pastors from the churches, and then the the imams from the mosques and the traditional rulers to also help in the implementation of circular economy activities or policies. There was issue of positive attitude change towards circular economy. We also had a contribution on adequate education, whereby some members suggested that we should make a deliberate attempt to incorporate secular activities into our household teachings as well as in our curriculums. Yeah. Then we also have the contribution from on a deliberate attempt to design, develop, and deliver relevant awareness program, and then also ensuring a very effective communication system that will also promote the implementation process. So, ladies and gentlemen, so far so good. This is where we've gotten to. with our discussion. Thank you so much. And if you feel there is a contribution you made which has been omitted, I still have 5 minutes. You can let me know and I'll quickly add it to the list because this is what we are going to base our final report on. Yes. You see, the money was a slogan, but the person mentioned a lot of activities that we need to undertake. For instance, we need information. He said one of the strongest tool that we need now is the information. And how do we get information? We need to conduct research. How do we do the research? We need financial support. And then, so she was able to link one point to the other. So, but I have captured it somewhere, the the black gold, you know, I've captured it somewhere, the black gold. Okay.
Hello, yeah, Dr. Karikari. I also noticed since morning, I think we've been talking about sustainability, but when you brought your Venn diagram, durability.
Durability. Yes. With the in the this oh, okay. Yeah. In sustainable development theories, when you study sustainable development theories and then you come specifically on pillars of sustainable development, it gives you three: the social, environmental, and economics. And the proponent of the theory suggested that for harmony, we need to um, bring the three together and form an intersection. So if you have an economy whereby they canvas for a balanced sustainable development, environmental quality, economic prosperity, and social equity should intercept. And that is what they name it, durable. And these, once again, these are not my words. Yes, yes. Okay, bro.
Should us. Is it your invention?
No, this is a Venn diagram I've been using to
So
teach my
you should
students.
have acknowledged the source of that Venn diagram. I was watching out for it. If you had done that, these questions would not arise.
The fact that social is not necessarily mentioned as a key tenet of circular economy means that it is not considered as an integral part of that whole concept, and they need to move in that pathway. So I'm confused why you keep saying there's a gap.
Okay, so this is the explanation. When you look at it about the ecology, there are detailed explanation and detailed framework on how to secure the ecology. So when the keynote speaker was speaking and he was emphasizing on the ecological side, on the environment, all her explanations and then the policy reference were very clear and explicit. When Doc took over to talk about the monetary aspects, all the indicators and then the details were also very clear on the value for money, the economic aspect. But when you come to the social aspect, where we deliberately talk about equality in working space, talk about social inclusion, talk about addressing issue of diversity and solidarity, all of that. None of these indicators, and these are characteristics that the moment you you hear them or they have been given a space within a context, you have a feel of social sustainability. But throughout the two major presentation, they were only implied, as you said, but you can have a take-home message as this is the space for social. And my first question was in the morning was, in the process of even protecting the environment in the name of achieving linear economy, we abuse women, we abuse children, and we try to deny them their fundamental human rights. So some of this has not been given any space.
Very much, Dr. Kakari. Do you have any further questions or contributions?
Okay. Yeah, that is true.
Yes, from my